About the solution for bottles of beer now, and we're going to start off by making this verse function work. And I think to me this is the essence of at least how I write code. Given a very large, complicated problem that I have to solve, I try to break it down into each function, the smallest unit that I can think of with the fewest number of arguments. And I try to write that program, I try to write that function, and then I write a test for it. And I feel like if I can understand how each function works and I can test that they work properly, then I can start to combine them in ways, I can compose them in ways that I can write more complicated programs with very small pieces that I really truly understand and have tested. So the idea here, I know that I could sing pretty much an infinite number, a positive number of verses. But I know that I only need to test for 1 and 2. Beyond that, every other verse should fall out of that. I'm not singing negative numbers. I've already verified that I'm not getting a negative number, so I only need to handle the cases for 1 and greater than 1. I've already passed this hard-coded for 1 bottle of beer works fine. And if I wanted, I could say, if bottle equals to 1, return this. And then I could say else, return something else. I don't want to do it quite like that. I had suggested before we left, that we have 4 lines here. And this is actually the bottle, as is this. So the bottle, and those need to be F strings. This is always going to be the same, and then this last one is going to be essentially bottle minus 1 of beer. So that's kind of a start. It's not going to pass our test, but we could try it. What it's doing now is it's saying 1 bottle of beer on the wall, 1 bottle of beer, take 1 down, pass it around, 0 bottle of beer on the wall. Well, that doesn't work because it needs to be 0, not 0, it needs to be no more bottles of beer on the wall. So that's not quite right. So let's fix this to take to handle 1. So it'll be bottle, and then we're going to have this next bottle. Let me see. I don't want to get too far off from how I did it in the solution. Yes. So my next bottle is going to be equal to bottle minus 1. And so that's useful. That gives me something. And then let's see. How did I do it in the solution? Yes, I need to. I need either there's going to be an S here or not an S here. So I'm going to call this S1, and there's going to be S1 here, the first S, and then I think the next one is going to be here. I see. I'll worry about that in just a second. So S1 is going to be equal to, let's see, it's going to be equal to the empty string if bottle is equal to 1, else it's going to be equal to S. So when bottle is 2, it should be bottles. Otherwise, it should be 1. It's going to be the same for S2. It's going to be equal to the empty string when next bottle is equal to 1, else it's going to be equal to S. So that's going to be useful. Let me make sure how I handled that here. Yes, next bottle, and this is where S2 is going to recur. So we're getting there. So it's going to be like 1 bottle of beer on the wall, 1 bottle of beer. Take 1 down, pass it around. Bottle, this is going to be next bottle, not bottle minus 1. Next bottles of beer on the wall. But we need to handle this next num. It's not going to be just next bottle. We need an additional variable here, and we'll call it next num, because it's going to be equal to, next num is going to be equal to no more if the next bottle is equal to, if the next bottle is equal to 0, else it's going to be equal to next bottle. Let's verify. Let me verify that is the way I wrote that there. So now it's going to be next num bottles of beer on the wall. Let's see if that works. It's a lot of parameters, but these are the things that change between the verses. The current bottle, and then the current S or not S. The same thing here. The third line is always the same. Then we need to decide if we're singing no more or the actual next bottle of beer on the wall. Let's see if that works. Okay, I have if. Just a syntax error here, and then an if. So I'm using an if expression. The empty string if bottle is equal to 1, else s. The same here. So let me verify that. Let's try our test. That works. It works for both 1 and 2. And what I like about writing a test like this is that I put it in writing right here. That if I call this like verse 1, what I expect is to get back a line, a string, that is these 4 lines joined on the new line. And when I call it like verse 2, I should get back these lines of text. So it's like an additional layer of documentation. I know that when I run this this function with this input, I should get this output back. So that is how I wrote the verse function. You might have chosen to write it differently. It's not important how you wrote it as long as it passed those 2 tests. Next, we'll talk about how to integrate this now into our program.